Batman the Animated Series. It's not the greatest superhero show I've ever seen. Here's the thing, everybody. My name's Lise. I gotta say this. I watched Batman Animated Series again. I want to rewatch it. Like I said, I am rewatching all the old superhero shows I used to watch as a kid. And you think, like, oh, well, these shows are made for kids. In some cases, they are. But in some cases, this is what made me fall in love with superheroes. But anime series is so much nostalgia for me, and I was really looking forward to the day when I was rewatching the series and all that stuff. And I gotta say this: the music is amazing, the score is amazing, the writing for the most part is great. The problem is though for this show is episodic. And when people say, well, what do you mean episodic? Every single show is episodic, episode to episode. No. You could watch one episode of Batman the animated series and not miss anything. There is no continuation. This show was made for children, but there was no continued storyline. It's just Batman. There's 85 episodes, 65 in one season, and 20 in the second season. Robin shows up for, I would say, 4 episodes in season 1. Actually, 6 episodes in season 1, and then a whole bunch in season 2. I would say he got at least 22, 24 episodes the most out of 85, which is atrocious in my opinion. Batgirl basically got like 6 episodes. There is not a lot of growth for the Batman animated series. Batman animated series had some great characters. They have great villains, and the villains are what makes the show with Batman. The thing is, though, other than Bruce Wayne, there's not much detail to any of it. I mean, Alfred gets maybe 2-3 episodes of development. James Bullock gets some episodes devoted to him, like 2-3, and some to James Gordon. But the thing is, though, what I didn't like about the anime series, and again, I had my nostalgia glasses on, and I was so excited for it. But the thing is, though, I did not enjoy it like I once it was. I don't think this is the greatest superhero anime show of all time. This ain't even my childhood favorite no more. I mean, now that I'm old, and I get it, when you're older, you're going to see things differently. But this, to me, was just, in a way, disappointing for me. I'm more disappointed by the fact of what it was, because here's the thing. And a lot of people could say, well, it's a cartoon show, it's made for kids. I watched the Spider-Man anime series. They had a continued story. For the first, second, third, fourth season. There was a continuous storyline. They were building up characters, whether it was with Peter Parker, Mary Jane, Felicia Hardy, Jameson, and all that stuff. Even the villains got their moments, and then you got the anti-heroes. They were building up. Batman animated series is just episode by episode, but there's no continued story arc for him. I mean, some of the best episodes are with the best villains. You have Mr. Freeze, you got Ra's or Ra's al Ghul and all that stuff. There's a lot of great things I like about Batman animated series, but when I'm comparing it to other shows, because right now I'm the 4th show I'm going to watch right now will be the Iron Man Marvel show, which is 1 season, so it should take me a day to see it and a day to review it. But with Batman animated series, I was really taking my time with it. Batman Beyond, to me, had a little bit more structure. It's just Batman Beyond was a little bit more continuation for me. I think I like Batman Beyond in some cases more than Batman the Animated Series because it had a continued storyline. The problem is, though, with Batman Beyond, it suffers that you don't have no great villains to back it up. Batman the Animated Series is great because of its villains. And without the villains, Batman, again, it's not about comparing villains to, the hero and all that stuff, but it's just, you know how you think of something that is great as it once was? And you're just disappointed at the end. It just feels like that for me. I just feel really disappointed when I rewatch Batman animated series. Again, I loved it when I was a kid, and it's episodic. Basically, you can go in, you ain't gonna miss much. Unless an episode says part 1, part 2, you're not gonna miss much of the Batman animated series. I believe they should have really cut down. And here's the thing, though. Also, when they first aired this show, there is no correct order to air this show in. It's kind of like what they did with Firefly. They had a disorganized episode and all this stuff. When I was seeing Robin for the first time, I'm like, did I miss an episode? When did Robin get introduced? When did any of this happen? There was the thing where Two-Face goes to basically jail and all this stuff, and he's with the woman he loves. But later on, he goes to Back to the Future Crime, and there's no mention of it. If any, it's like a 2-minute conversation, less than like a half a 30-second conversation about why Two-Face is still doing the stuff he's doing. Or like why Robin's not there. We found out he's in college. That's why he's ain't around so much. Batman the Animated Series, I like this show. I love the voice casting for all the stuff. I love the animation. I love the soundtrack. Love the theme. But I like continued storylines. I don't like episodic episodes and all that stuff. I've watched Spider-Man Animated Series, and even though that was for kids, it had a lot of connections. It had a lot of episodes you had to see. Like, each episode you had to see. Season 2 was probably one of the best seasons of Spider-Man 2, and that continued the Morbius storyline. It dealt with the X-Men. It was just a nice continuation of Peter Parker and his new mutation and all that stuff. So I loved Spider-Man the Animated Series for its continued storyline. But with Batman the Animated Series, I just feel like you miss one episode, you're not going to miss unless it's a part 1, part 2, you're not gonna miss much, and that's the main problem with it. I love the characters, all that stuff. You put it in, watch an episode, okay. It's not like a Game of Thrones, not like a Walking Dead, and I get it, it's made for kids, but again, Spider-Man the Animated Series had a lot of episodes that you just need to watch because you're missing out on something. Why did Felicia Hardy become the Black Cat? There's an explanation. You gotta go back to it. What happened to Mary Jane? What happened to the wedding? What happened to Harry Osborn? There was continuation of story. With Batman, there is not. There's no continuation, and I'm disappointed, to say the least. This is not a bad show, but this is not the greatest show alive. Did this for kids who want to grow up with Batman? This is perfect for them. For people who want to just like get used to that old Batman stuff, yeah. But when I'm thinking about other Batman shows, which I've only watched one, Batman, the CW show, not CW, but it was the Batman, and I remember I had more continuation with that storyline than I do with this. So maybe I'm wrong. I'll be watching all the superhero animated shows, and again, like, you could have episodic, but it has to continue. I watched Spider-Man the Animated Series. There was a nice flow. You had to watch a lot of episodes. If you missed one episode, you're probably going to have to go back to it because you forgot something important. And then X-Men Evolution. X-Men Evolution was just like that. X-Men Animated Series was like that. It's just X-Men Animated Series thought about putting all the storylines into one freaking, like, it just kept on going, like, all the dang storylines they possibly can. You want the X-Men Days of Future Past storyline? Season 1. You want Magneto to come around? Season 1. You want the Sentinels? Season 1. You want Wolverine vs. Sabretooth? Season 1 and all that stuff. It's just like, there's no build-up with the X-Men Animated Series, and it just pushed all storylines into one season, which was idiotic. And Batman, the Animated Series, again, everything is great except for the episode thing. It's just episodic. You don't really need to see an episode, and that's the main problem. I'd like to have that in my storytelling of anything, whether it's kids, like, heck, the Harry Potter movies continue a story. The books continue a story. Just no continuation with the Batman Animated Series. I like the fact that it was the first show, and then it started to hold spin-offs of Batman Beyond, Superman Animated Series, which I will all watch. And there is a third season. There is called Batman, the new Batman Adventures and all that stuff. That's a separate show. I'm gonna watch that, see how it is compared to that one. But Batman Animated Series, I gotta be honest with you, this disappointed me. I still smiled at a lot of the kids stuff. I still smiled at the darker tones, but the problem is though, there's just no storyline build-up. I say the greatest storyline they have is the Ra's al Ghul storyline. With Batman Joker, it's not really. You gotta have Harley Quinn for one episode, and 20 episodes in, you won't see her in, and then there she is suddenly with the Joker, even though the Joker's been there previously. Robin will just show up out of nowhere sometimes. I mean, there's just not like continuation with first stories and certain characters. I say the best characters that have continuation was Batgirl. But to me, I'm not the greatest fan of Batman Animated Series no more. I still love for what it did for the entire shows. I still love it for what it does for superhero as shows. It really gave it a rebirth. We should always appreciate Batman Animated Series for what it did for superhero shows and for kids, for animation, and basically making people fall in love with the comics and all that stuff. And with comics, it's literally from the comics straight to the page. And there's something you gotta love about Batman Animated Series. But as a TV show as a whole, after rewatching it, after seeing season 1 and season 2, season 1 I gave a B, season 2 I gonna give a B+. It was a lot more shorter, 20 episodes. What could you really complain about? But this is not a show I will say I will always love. I mean, I find Spider-Man Animated Series 10 times better than Batman animated series. I find X-Men Evolution a more continued, well-out storyline with multiple characters that are growing. A lot better than Batman animated series. I will have to do a rankings. I will have to do probably a tier list. For God's sake, I'll probably have to do a list of that. But Batman animated series disappointed me, but it's still a good show. I think it's overrated now, but I still will always appreciate this show. Batman Beyond, like I did in my other video, was overrated to me, but it was still a good show. Same thing with Batman animated series. Which one do I will watch more? I probably will go back to Batman Beyond more, but what's the better show is Batman animated series. So, my personal opinion, everybody, it was a good time watching it, but I was disappointed. And it's not as great as I once thought when you're just trying to see it, binge it, and all this stuff. Again, you can skip an episode and there it's gone. But what's your personal opinion, everybody? You think Batman the Animated Show is a great show? You think it's the greatest superhero show of all time? You think I'm just being too picky? Or you're starting to see the flaws too, like now that you're older and all this stuff? Because I know a lot of people, they're just rewatching the Batman animated series. A lot of people say, well, it's episodic and all stuff. You really should stop complaining and stop bitching about all this. So that's what people like to say, but I can't help how I feel. I just feel like I was, okay, not robbed, but I feel like I was just spoiled a good time and all that stuff. I mean, it was still a good time. I still had fond memories. I'm like, oh man, I remember this episode. Man, I'm probably missing so much when I was a kid because I was so because I wasn't really paying attention to the overall themes and stories and the continuation of the story. But there is no continuation. It's just episode by episode, and some people will like that, some people will not. I did not like that, but let me know what y'all think, everyone. Name's Jalise, Garfield, everybody. Bye.